All right. This video is on how to construct a basic argument. An argument. Reasons to believe what is true or evidence to reach a possible conclusion. To support views, arguments are essential. If there are no arguments, there is no support. Views of history do not consider what is appealing or attractive. Subjective opinions. Historical facts are determined by good arguments, not bad ones. A mere statement is not an argument. There must be arguments of support in order to convince or persuade a person that a statement is true or not true, right or wrong, fact or fiction. A thesis is an argument, in the main, a conclusion proven by a good argument. It is the hypothesis, testable or can, at the very least, be, in principle, falsified. If it cannot be shown to be false via an unambiguous test, hypotheses that can be falsified are the ones that are worth arguing for. And so there are two main types of arguments. There's inductive argument and there's deductive argument. Deductive is the most convincing. Deductive argumentation is if both premises are true. If you have a statement is true and another statement is true, then it follows that the conclusion is also true. And another way of saying it is if X, then Y. X is true, therefore Y. It's a basic syllogism used by Socrates and the pre-Socratic philosophers to debate a lot of the rhetoricians of their day. So, an argument can be valid in symbolic logic if it can be falsifiable, but it is only sound when both the premises are true. When an argument is sound, the conclusion is indisputably correct. You want to also see reductio ad absurdum, which shows that a premise is false. But most, if not all, historical arguments are, in fact, inductive arguments. And you can see Hume on the problem of induction. And I'm going to get to Hume, like I will with all the other philosophers. They'll be on my philosophy playlist. This, however, will be in my history playlist on how to write a basic argument. And so induction is intended by the arguer to be strong enough that if the premises were true, then it would be unlikely that the conclusion is false. It's all probability, you see. It's all what's more likely to be the case as opposed to not. And so unlike deductive arguments, inductive arguments are evaluated by a difference of degree. This argument increases the probability of a conclusion being true, but does not necessarily show that they are certain. So we can't have certainty in history. We can have certainty in science, but we cannot have certainty in history. And therefore, there will always be a certain level of disagreement among historians as to what actually happened in the past, and the evaluation of ancient documents or medieval documents or modern documents. How do we know that these documents are valid? How do we know that they're sound? How do we know that we can know anything in the past? And, we'll get into that later on. But, and also be minded that when you read books, not all authors are credible. Okay? And not all authors have good arguments. So you can have arguments by example. You can have arguments by analogy or similarity. You can have arguments by causes of explanation. You can have arguments by correlation. But correlation doesn't mean causation necessarily. So you do not use correlation in deductive arguments. Correlation does not necessarily imply causation, like I said. Causes are not simple. They are extremely complex. And therefore, an argument from authority, for example, what would be an example of a fallacy? So anyways, this is just a brief 5-minute video on how to construct a basic argument. Use a simple syllogism. Start out with a statement. Prove that statement with evidence. And then if you can prove the second statement with evidence, and if you have two statements that line up and correlate with each other, and they're both true, they both be proven to be true, then most often the case that the conclusion will also be true. That's how you win an argument. That's how you can debate pretty much anyone and be excellent. Thank you.